So Mike, can you describe the DevOps 3 ways? We'll start with the first one, which is the principles of flow.
Yeah, I would say if you ask the forefathers of the DevOps movement, the Gene Kims, the Jez Humbles, the John Willises, or the Patrick Dubois, who actually coined the term DevOps in one of his conferences in Belgium in, I think, 2010. If you were asking what a standard definition of DevOps was, they probably would not be able to give you one, but we've talked about this movement of how we change and innovate. And there's 3 core principles that really make up DevOps, and there's sub-principles under each one of those top 3. And the first one is the principle of flow. So in this concept, we're trying to maximize the flow across what's called the technology value stream. And again, it's that assembly line from business hypothesis to development of a set of code to encapsulate that business hypothesis and going through that life cycle or that assembly line to production. So you're trying to maximize flow. And so some of the sub-principles around that, how you actually maximize flow, are the following. One key aspect of DevOps is the amount of work that you do at a time that goes through that entire assembly line, or the technology value stream, as we call it, has to be minimized. We call this batch size in the industry. So the amount of change, that could be lines of code, it could be a patch, it could be solving a security issue. That change that you run through that assembly line, you try to minimize. And in the idealist sense, you're trying to think of single piece flow. In other words, a piece of work going through that entire chain automatically and keeping it very small. And so you're doing small iterations every day, all the time, and you're thinking about promoting something to production, some change on a daily basis. Now, in the IT world, unlike the manufacturing world, IT is invisible work. We don't actually see inventory. We don't see people working on things necessarily. It's all invisible. So unless it's visible, it's very hard to understand where there are bottlenecks in this flow through the technology value stream. So you need to make the work visible. Kanban boards are one way to do that. There's all sorts of tooling that help you give you an understanding of that work that we've just talked about, where it is in the various stages of the technology value stream. And you're also trying to minimize handoffs. Every time you have a handoff in the technology value stream, you're introducing the possibility of a queue, and a queue is where you lose time. That's where the work sits. Nobody's actually working on it, and that adds delays to getting things to production. And so by reorganizing yourself so that you identify where the work is throughout the entire life cycle of the technology value stream, and you identify areas where there's bottlenecks, and you scrum together whenever the work in progress is too much to push that work through the technology value stream. You're in a position to maximize flow. Along with maximizing flow, we consider quality and making sure we address errors as they happen in that value stream. We don't put off fixing the problem to a later date when we have free time. We fix it on the spot, and we learn how to gather the data to identify and detect it, gain knowledge of how to fix it in the future, and hopefully prevent it from happening again, and definitely prevent that issue from cascading through the technology value stream to the production environment. And so those are some of the ways that we want to maximize flow within the organization.